Let's bring in Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen. Madam Secretary, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
First, I want to talk about your speech today about the state of Homeland Security and then deal with the issues of the day, including the border and other issues. You say in this speech today that the threats we face are graver than at any time since 9/11.
Yes.
Why?
First of all, they're so widespread. Secondly, they affect everyone. Everyday Americans are affected by cyber warfare, affected by natural disasters, affected by potential for chemical or biological weapons. And mainly, and this is what does keep me up at night, emerging threats are evolving so quickly. We've got to get the arms of government to swing faster to be able to give us the authorities and tools we need.
You put a particular onus on cyber, and that nation states like China, Iran, North Korea are active pretty much every day.
Absolutely. Every minute. Every minute. I mean, they are probing our systems. They're trying to get into our systems. And they do it for a whole variety of reasons, not just sabotage. They do it to steal our intellectual property. North Korea does it to steal money, as we know. And unfortunately, increasingly, all three countries, China, Russia, and Iran, are doing it to influence the way that Americans think and the way that our very democracy works.
Have you done enough to this point? You know, you've talked before, we have talked before about election security.
Yes.
Has enough been done?
We always have more to do. You know, I'll never say we're finished. Yeah. No, with elections, the good news is we have very strong partnerships with all 50 states going into the next election cycle. We've asked for auditability by 2020, meaning that whatever system you have, we want to be able to roll it back and ensure that every vote is counted and counted correctly. So we're doing everything from penetration testing upon request to anything else state and locals might need. We're meeting them where they are in their preparedness to ensure that we're all prepared for 2020.
There are critics up on Capitol Hill. Here's Congresswoman Jackie Speier.
Our president is a national security risk. The fact that China was able to hack into 27 universities just last week and get the R&D on maritime projects for DOD that were underway in those various universities is a cyber war act. It is an act of cyber warfare. What did our president say or do?
First of all, is that true?
It's not true that the president doesn't care about cyber war, if that was the inference.
The 27 universities and the DOD.
There is active hacking. So we're always looking, as you know, attribution is very, very difficult. But we continue to do that because an important part of what this president has said is that we are replacing complacency with consequences. So if you hack us, we will identify you and we will impose sanctions.
So at what point is a hack an act of war?
Well, it's a good question. It's probably one academics will continue to debate. I can tell you from DHS, we want to prevent the hack. We want to make sure the systems are secure and that if anything goes awry, we mitigate the consequences, that we firewall the consequences so that they don't cascade through other systems.
I want to ask you about the critics who are saying or tying the president somehow to this white nationalist movement that spurred this shooter in New Zealand. Obviously, the White House has pushed back hard. The president was asked about an increase in white nationalism. Does he see that across the board? He said no. But the FBI said that hate crimes are up 17% 2017, and that 90% of those were targeting minorities. What do you say to the critics who make this tie that the president talking about an invasion on the southern border somehow affects the environment?
I would not tie the two together. The humanitarian crisis, security crisis we're seeing on the southern border, to me, has nothing to do with radical ideologies that call for violence. I can tell you at DHS, hate is hate, violence is violence, whether it's white supremacists, whether it's eco-terrorists, or whether it's Islamist terrorists. We have a plan to work with communities to combat it all. In fact, we've just announced we're going to do the first ever summit to move forward with our whole of society approach, so that we can bring all components of society together to fight this together. But look, anyone who espouses a violent ideology has no place in America. That's the bottom line. And the Department of Homeland Security will do everything we can to ensure that Americans are safe and that they can go and worship. I mean, what an abhorrent event that happened in New Zealand.
And you talked about that today in your speech. Do you think the president is going to talk about this on a broad level?
To him, yes. I mean, terrorism, he's very concerned about. He's very concerned about violence. You've heard him speak on that before. What we're doing is, again, we're expanding under his administration, under his direction, all of the tools of government that we have to work with the private sector, to work with communities, to work with schools, to work with everyday Americans to ensure that this type of violence is not able to take root in the United States.
You had 12 Republican senators vote against this emergency declaration, essentially trying to overturn it. What do you say to them about the situation on the border and how you characterize it specifically, numbers-wise and from your vantage point?
So, two things. One, I think this is boiled down to pretty simple calculus. Did the president have authority to issue the emergency? He did. It's statutory. Congress gave it to him. Was there an emergency? This is where I come in. I can uncategorically tell you there is absolutely a disaster and emergency at the southern border, and it's becoming more and more heart-wrenching every single day. We truly are in system meltdown. The system was not built for this type of flow, for these numbers, and for what we're seeing, whether it's drugs, whether it's traffickers, whether it's the child exploiters, or whether it's all the families and the children who are coming across very sick and very in need.
HHS is holding on to a lot of kids down there at the border. Do you have a number?
I don't have a current number. Last year we had 60,000 that were in HHS care. The problem with unaccompanied children that are sent to the United States without a parent or adult is that under our laws, if they are not a Mexican child, we cannot send them home. So every time I go to the Northern Triangle, the countries say, please send our kids back. We want them here to be back with their families, back with their communities, and to help build our countries. But under our laws, we cannot do that. So
and the prospect of changing those laws, I mean,
I am always optimistic, you know, but now it's just vital. I mean, we've moved beyond all blinking lights. Congress must act. The president has made this a priority, continues to make it a priority in every way he possibly can exercise his authority. But look, this is Congress, courts, and criminals. That's who we got to fix. We got to address the criminals who are taking advantage of the system. We got to work with the courts who clearly misunderstand the authorities and the operational effects. And we've got to get Congress to do its job, just as the patriots at DHS are doing theirs.
Secretary Nielsen, we appreciate your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much.